Look before and behind. Be like Argos, possessor of 100 eyes. For now, though, there was only the empty path, barred with shadow. Leaving the shelter of the trees squinting in the sudden sunlight, she crossed the sandy heath towards Hampstead Ponds. The fair was immediately louder, the chaos of noise separating as she drew nearer to wild screaming and the yelp of barkers, the crash and clack of flung missiles, the laboured jollity of a steam organ playing pre-war melodies. Daisy, Daisy, succeeding, that daring young man on the flying trapeze. A helter-skelter was visible, and a spinning ride. Chairs on long chains whirling round a central spindle, the occupants twisting like marionettes. Just ahead of her, a rabbit shot across the path. 10 yards behind it, a spherical Jack Russell laboured in pursuit, slowly followed by a gasping Labrador. Their owner was stationary a short distance away, paused in the act of lighting his pipe. "Did you receive the canine diet sheet I passed your housekeeper?" asked Mattie. "And a happy new year to you too, Miss Simpkin," said Major Lum, his voice carrying well in the still air. "Fine weather. Shall we avoid snow this year, do you think?" "They would live far longer and be much happier were they to lose several pounds." "And I would live far longer and be much happier were my next-door neighbour to stop issuing unasked-for advice. Please pass on my greetings to Miss Lee and wish her a thoroughly sanitary 1928. He tipped his hat and turned to follow the pair of animate barrels through the grass. "1 meal a day and no tidbits," called Mattie, at his retreating back. The only reply was a puff of yellowish smoke. She snapped open her handbag and took out a small notebook and pencil, thumbing through to a section entitled Column Ideas. "Speaking out," she wrote. "Public silence breeds private misery. Dare to be a Daniel." She was closing the notebook again when the steam organ changed its tune. Daisy, Daisy gave way to a jaunty march, and the melody looped out of the past and caught her like a snare, so that she stood with the book in her hand, her bag open, her feet nailed to the path. As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent air, you can hear the girls declare he must be a millionaire. And instead of the tapering tower of the helter-skelter, she was seeing her younger brother Angus, his dear, handsome face lopsided, his indented forehead like a battered tin mug, his lips struggling to supply the words. "Just try the nouns this time," she'd suggested, rewinding the gramophone, and he'd managed a ghostly vowel for each, while she'd sung the rest with desperate vigour. "As I walk along the Bois de Boulogne with an independent... You can hear the... declare... he must be a..." The handbag was whisked from her grasp before she'd even registered the footsteps behind her, and she was left standing, open-mouthed, as a young man ran down the slope towards the fair, stuffing her bag under his plum-coloured jacket as he went, glancing back at her and then slowing, actually slowing, to a casual stroll as he neared the striped shooting booth at the perimeter. "Thief!" she shouted, starting forward. "Thief!" Her foot touched an object that rolled, and she looked down to see the miniature of whiskey that had fallen from the bag as he'd tugged it away. She snatched it up. It was full, a decent weight, heavy enough to startle, too light to maim, and then she straightened, took aim and flung it sidearm, as if skimming a stone. The slope was in her favour. The missile maintained its height, kept its trajectory, and she was able to feel a split second of wondering pride in an unlost skill, before a red-headed girl ran, laughing, from behind the booth, dodged round the thief, and received the bottle full in the mouth. "I'm really most dreadfully, dreadfully sorry," called Mattie, hurrying down the path. The redhead had been joined by a boy, and the pair of them were kneeling, staring up at her in round-eyed disbelief.